For decades, it was a conflict fought in the shadows, a complex, undeclared war of proxy forces, covert operations, and cyber attacks between Iran, Israel, and the United States. But in early 2026, that shadow war finally broke out into the open, and in doing so, it created a global crisis of a kind we haven't seen in a generation.
Within just 1 month, the shockwaves hit the global economy. The price of oil skyrocketed by more than 50%. Why? Because one of the world's most critical energy supply lines had been choked off, threatening to plunge the world into a deep recession.
And the human cost began to climb almost immediately. More than 13,000 people were killed across at least 5 nations. This wasn't just a contained conflict. It was a fire that was spreading fast, threatening the stability of the entire region.
So, how did we get to this point? To understand that, we have to go back to a single day, February 28th, 2026. This was the day the shadow war ended and a new, much more dangerous conflict began. It started with a massive, coordinated offensive. The U.S. called it Operation Epic Fury. Israel called it Operation Roaring Lion. Their stated goal was to preemptively eliminate what they called an unacceptable and growing threat to international security. The operation's aims were incredibly ambitious, and they were very clear. First, to ensure Iran could never build a nuclear weapon. Second, to completely destroy its long-range missile program. And third, to neutralize its powerful network of proxy forces across the Middle East. You know, the opening attack was on a scale we have just never seen before. The U.S. and its allies launched 850 Tomahawk cruise missiles in the first wave alone. Now, to put that in perspective, that's more than were used in the entire opening of the Iraq War or even Desert Storm. Absolutely unprecedented. But this wasn't just about hitting military targets. The primary goal was what strategists call a decapitation strike, and it was brutally effective. The strikes killed Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, along with dozens of his top military and nuclear officials. And with that single act, the entire nature of the conflict changed. This was no longer about deterrence. This was now about regime change. Now, an explosion of violence like this doesn't come out of nowhere. It was really the final, devastating act in a long story of rising tensions, proxy battles, and failed diplomacy that had been speeding up for more than a year. You can really trace the momentum toward war through 3 key events. First, a short but intense conflict in mid-2025 showed that direct clashes were now possible. That was followed by a violent crackdown on protesters inside Iran, hardening the regime. And then, in early February 2026, the final last-ditch effort at a nuclear deal completely collapsed. After that, it felt like the path to diplomacy was well and truly closed. But this war isn't just being fought with missiles and drones. It has expanded onto 2 completely new fronts, and each one has profound consequences for the entire world: our energy choke points and our digital infrastructure. Iran's retaliation was swift and strategic. They seized control of the Strait of Hormuz, that narrow channel where about 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply passes through every single day. By blockading traffic, Tehran was trying to turn a regional military fight into a global economic war. So as navies were facing off on the Hormuz front, this invisible parallel war was kicking off on the cyber front. And here, the weapons aren't missiles, they're destructive malware, attacks on critical infrastructure, and sophisticated psychological operations. A proxy group known as Handala, which is reportedly linked to Iran's intelligence services, launched a campaign of digital chaos. They hit a U.S. medical tech company with destructive software. They hacked the personal email of a very high-level official, and they began threatening American defense workers. And by using a proxy group, Tehran can carry out these attacks while maintaining a shield of, well, plausible deniability, which makes it much harder to attribute and retaliate directly. But behind all the strategic calculations and the digital battles, a devastating humanitarian crisis was quietly and then very quickly unfolding across the entire region. In just the first month, the death toll was already staggering. Thousands of Iranian soldiers and civilians were killed. But the conflict also spilled over into Lebanon, claiming over 1,300 lives there, along with dozens of Israeli and American service members. Inside Iran itself, the conflict triggered a massive internal crisis. An estimated 9 million people, that's 9 million, were forced to flee their homes to escape the bombing campaigns. And at the very same time, escalating Israeli strikes against Hezbollah and neighboring Lebanon displaced nearly 1 million civilians there, pushing that fragile country right to the edge of total collapse. So, with the old Iranian leadership gone, but with its military and its proxy forces still fighting back, the world is now facing a deeply uncertain future. And the question on everyone's mind is, what comes next? Right now, military and political analysts think the most likely outcome isn't peace or even a clear victory. It's a protracted stalemate. In this scenario, Iran holds on to the Strait of Hormuz, while the U.S. continues punitive airstrikes without committing to a full-ground invasion. This would create a long-term, grinding state of conflict, a kind of new normal with no clear diplomatic off-ramp and really no obvious end in sight.
Years ago, a U.S. general, talking about a different war in the Middle East, asked a simple, haunting question. Today, as this new conflict settles in for the long haul, becoming a dangerous and unpredictable new reality, that very same question now hangs over the entire world.